My family spent years treating me like I didn't matter, like I was just there when it was convenient. Not ignored completely, just never important enough. And the worst part wasn't what they did. It was how normal it felt after a while. Because when something happens long enough, you stop questioning it. You start adjusting to it. I learned early that if I wanted anything in life, I was going to have to build it myself. No support. No recognition. No one paying attention unless it somehow benefited someone else. And over time, that changes how you think. You stop expecting fairness. You stop waiting for validation. You just move differently. Quietly. And that's exactly what I did. I built something on my own. Slowly. Carefully. Without telling anyone. Not because I was hiding it. Because they never asked. And eventually, it became something bigger than I ever expected. Something real. Something valuable. Something they would have paid attention to if they had ever looked. But they didn't. Not until one moment changed everything. Not because I told them. Because they found out by accident. And the second they realized what I had built, everything about how they treated me changed. Growing up, the difference between me and my sister was never something you had to guess. It was obvious. She needed attention. I was expected to understand. That was the rule no one ever said out loud. But everyone followed. If she got sick, everything stopped. Plans changed. Voices softened. The entire house adjusted around her. But when I achieved something, it barely registered. A quick "that's nice." And then the focus shifted back to whatever she needed next. And over time, you start to notice what that does to you. Because it's not just about being overlooked once or twice. It's about realizing you were never part of the priority to begin with. I stopped bringing things up after a while. Not because they didn't matter, because I already knew how it would go. My sister figured it out too. She learned exactly how to stay at the center of everything. What to say. When to say it. And my parents let it happen. Every single time. They called it being patient. Being the bigger person. But what it really meant was I was the one who had to adjust so everything else could stay the same. And when you do that long enough, it becomes your role. The reliable one. The quiet one. The one who doesn't need anything. The one who's always there, but never really seen. And the worst part is, you don't question it at first. You accept it. You tell yourself it's normal. That this is just how things are. Until one day, something small makes it impossible to ignore. And once you see it clearly, you can't unsee it. So I stopped trying to be seen. Not out of anger. Not even out of disappointment. Just because it finally made sense. If I wasn't part of what mattered to them, then I didn't need to keep placing myself there. I didn't need to keep explaining why something hurt. I didn't need to keep waiting for a reaction that was never going to come. I just redirected everything. Quietly. Into something I could control. I focused on progress. Not the kind anyone else could measure. The kind that builds slowly. In ways no one notices until it's already too late to question it. I studied more. Worked more. Paid attention to things most people ignored. Details. Patterns. Opportunities that didn't look important at first, but added up over time. And the more I focused on that, the less I thought about everything I wasn't getting from them. Because for the first time, I wasn't trying to fill a gap. I was building something separate from it. Something that didn't depend on their approval. And that changed everything. Small results turned into bigger ones. Bigger ones turned into something stable. And eventually, it became something real. Something I owned completely. No one helped me build it. No one even knew it existed. And that was the part that made it different. Because it wasn't just success. It was independence. A life that had nothing to do with how they saw me. And I made a decision early on. I wasn't going to announce it. I wasn't going to prove anything. Because if they never cared when I had nothing, they didn't need to know when I had everything. And if you've ever built something in silence while everyone around you overlooked you, then you already know real power doesn't come from being seen. It comes from not needing to be. By the time everything started to come together, no one around me had any idea what was actually happening. And that was the strangest part. Because from the outside, nothing had changed. I still showed up the same way. Same quiet presence. Same role they had always assigned me. But behind that, everything was different. What started as small progress turned into something bigger. Then something structured. Then something real. Work that no one paid attention to became results they couldn't even imagine. Opportunities started finding me instead of the other way around. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't just keeping up. I was ahead. Not publicly. Not in a way that needed recognition. Just factually. My business grew faster than I expected. One deal turned into another. Then another. Numbers that used to feel impossible became normal. And the more it grew, the more intentional I became about keeping it separate. Because I realized something early. If people don't value you when you have nothing, they don't suddenly value you when you have everything. They just value what they can take from you. So I kept it quiet. Completely. I lived simply. Dressed the same. Showed up to family dinners like nothing had changed. Listening to the same conversations. The same assumptions about who I was and what I was doing with my life. And every time they spoke like they understood me, I realized how little they actually saw. It almost became surreal. Living two completely different realities at the same time. One where I was overlooked, and one where I was building something they wouldn't even believe if they saw it. And for a while, I was fine with that. Because silence gave me control. It kept everything clean, untouched, protected. But that kind of separation doesn't last forever. Eventually, something slips. And when it does, everything changes at once. Thanksgiving was supposed to be normal. Same house. Same voices. Same dynamic that had never really changed. I showed up like I always did. Quiet. Predictable. Nothing about me that anyone felt the need to question. Dinner started the way it always did. Conversations overlapping. My sister at the center of it, talking about her life like everything revolved around her. My parents listening the way they always had. And I sat there, letting it happen. The same way I always had. Until it shifted. Not because of anything I said. Because of something she saw. She walked into my old room without knocking, looking for something insignificant. A charger. A reason to interrupt. And that's when she saw my laptop. Open. Running. Numbers across the screen that didn't match the version of me she believed existed. At first, she didn't understand it. Just stared at it like it didn't make sense. Then it clicked. And I saw it happen in her expression. That moment where confusion turns into realization. But instead of asking me privately, she did what she always did. She turned it into a scene. Walked back into the dining room and held the screen out for everyone to see. Like she was about to expose something embarrassing. And then everything stopped. No one spoke. No one moved. Because now they understood. Not completely. But enough. Enough to know that whatever they thought I was wrong. My mother laughed at first. Like it had to be some kind of mistake. My father leaned forward, trying to process what he was looking at. My sister just stood there, holding the screen. Like she didn't know whether she had just won something or lost control of it. And in that silence, I realized something. This wasn't a reveal I chose, but it was the first time they were actually seeing me. The silence didn't last long. It never does. Because once people realize there's something to take, they don't stay quiet. The questions came first. Faust? Overlapping. How long has this been going on? Why didn't you tell us? How much is that? But none of them were really questions. They were calculations. You could see it in the way they looked at me. Not confused. Not proud. Just assessing. And then it shifted. From curiosity to entitlement. My mother was the first to say it out loud. Not directly. Not at first. But close enough. Talking about how hard things had been. How much they had sacrificed. How family should support each other. My father followed. More direct. More blunt. Saying I should have been helping more. That I should have told them sooner. That they deserved to know. And then my sister stepped in. Not asking. Expecting. Talking about what she needed. What I should be doing for her. Like this was something that already belonged to her. And standing there, listening to all of it, I realized something simple. Nothing about them had changed. They didn't suddenly see me differently. They just saw value where they hadn't before. So I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. There was nothing to defend. Because this wasn't about misunderstanding. It was about who they had always been. And for the first time, I stopped trying to fit into that. I closed my laptop, picked up my things, and walked out while they were still talking. Not because I was overwhelmed, because I was done. Completely. The calls came later. Messages. Demands. Guilt. Everything I expected. None of it mattered. Because once you see people clearly like that, you don't go back. And if people only start valuing you when there's something to take, then you already know the real power is walking away before they ever get the chance.